Hello friends, Lee here from TableTop Bong. Thanks for joining me. Welcome to the Lifted Energy video series. So I put together a total of 7 videos, and by the end of the 7 videos, you are going to have learned the entire Lifted Energy healing modality. You will learn how to use it, how to work with yourself, and what the point is. So I am super excited to bring this to you guys. This is something that is really near and dear to me. I've been working with Lifted Energy, with this energy healing modality for, I'm going to say, over 25 years anyway. Like I definitely have some very good experience with this, and it's been a part of my life for a really long time. So I'm really excited to bring this to you guys. In this introduction video, I'm just going to kind of go over what Lifted Energy is all about, why you would want to use it, and kind of how it came to me, that sort of stuff, right? I'm going to keep the videos pretty short, and I decided when I was putting this video series together, there's a couple of different ways that you can approach doing this, and I've seen this more than one way myself. I'm certified in a number of these different energy healing modalities, I think maybe 14 or so at this point. But what I've come to learn is the energy healing modalities that teach how to use the system and what the system is versus trying to teach the whole big picture, typically get the job done a little bit better. And the whole big picture that all of these different modalities will try to teach, it kind of unfolds as you're using the system. So we can touch on those things, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to fill you in on the big picture and give you the overall education. You can, of course, research any of those things outside of the video series. This is really going to be a nuts and bolts kind of style of get down and use the system, and I'm going to explain the pieces as we go through it. So let's start with exactly what is Lifted Energy. Lifted Energy is a repeatable, and I'm going to say almost scientific. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you there's a flow chart that goes with it. And, there are certain steps that you just do the steps over and over, and you're going to get answers. And you'll see as we go through it what that looks like. But the point is, this is not sitting and waiting for information to just come to you through some mystical method. This is a scientific way of getting into your own energy and finding solutions and answers and moving things that are stuck. In my experience, what can happen very often when we don't process an emotion appropriately, let's say, we get shocked by something and something we're not prepared for, whatever the case may be, it leaves us less than happy. And, here's the easy way to consider it. Those things that you think, oof, that one's going to leave a mark, right? We've all thought things like that, right? Like, oh, that one got me. Those are the ones I'm talking about. When we look at those things, what happens with that energy? It gets stuck in the body. That's what ends up happening. And then it manifests in odd ways to get your attention. So with Lifted Energy, what I'm going to show you is a method to find exactly where that energy is, what emotion is stuck in it, and how to get it out of your body so it stops manifesting in odd ways. So when I say manifesting in odd ways, what would that mean? Let's say you have you wake up one day and you have a sore knee all of a sudden. You can't figure it out. Why do I have this sore knee? Like, how did this become a problem? I didn't even do anything, right? Or your wrist or your thumb, or there's all kinds of these things that happen. Right? But what they are most often is a physical manifestation of some trapped or blocked energy in the physical body. So I'm going to show you exactly how to locate and remove that. So how did I end up with this energy? This came to me through meditation in 2 different meditation sessions. It was like 6 or 8 months apart. I can't remember exactly. There was a fairly good distance between the 2 sessions when I received all the information, and after I took the information and assimilated it between the 2 different sessions and what I had written down, I just did some automatic writing. I was receiving like a mental download, so I just started writing the information down as it was going into my head. And, between 2 different downloads, I put it together. A little bit of interpretation, a little bit further meditation, and growth understanding, and I was able to put this whole system together, which works really, in my opinion, quite flawlessly once you understand it, right? So I'll teach you how to operate it in that way. So what is important about this? Here's what I'm going to tell you guys. When it comes to this healing system will teach you about being truthful with yourself. Because really and truly, that's what we have to do. We have to be honest with ourselves along the way. But once we learn how to become an observer of ourselves, it's a bit of a different connection, when you're considering yourself, to kind of zoom out and see yourself from a slightly different perspective, which we'll talk about as we go through this a little bit further. But as you learn how to do that, you can kind of detach from things a little bit, so that when these things do come up, they're not nearly as painful as they would be if you were, just had a random memory of it or something, for instance, right? So I'm going to teach you all of this kind of stuff. Now, here's what's really important to me about this system, and why am I just teaching it now? I've been working with this, like I said, and I've done, thousands probably of sessions between working on myself and other people. I've done a lot of work with this particular system because it's repeatable. It's a repeatable formula, and I really love that about it. You can detach from it a little bit, and you don't necessarily need to know everything. You don't have to be psychic or something to use this. You just have to sit down and follow the steps, and that's what's really cool. So why am I just teaching it now? Well, as with anything, the world is a funny thing, right? It calls for things at a certain time. And I've been really called to bring this forward and to just give it to you guys now. I think what's happening, I think the world is ready for something like this where maybe it wasn't before. I think that there's a bit more of an open mind now than there definitely was maybe 20 years ago, right? So although I had the information and the discoveries with this, the time just wasn't really right to put it into the general public. What would have happened? And I've seen it happen with the different energy healing modalities. What ends up happening, 20 years ago, say, when you would put something into the market, people would want to structure it and turn it into something that is a system of, I'm going to tell you if you're doing it well enough, and I'm going to certify you, and you pay me money, and all of this stuff. And I understand if you're doing a session with somebody and you've taken the time to become really fluent with the system, and you sit down and you walk them through it and you do the work and you help them have these discoveries, so you're really guiding them through the self-healing process. I understand charging money for that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. But here's what I'm going to say. I was given this information through remembrance in meditation. It wasn't mine. It came through me, and it's going to continue to go through me. And I'm just going to send it out into the universe and let whoever connects with it use it for free. I'm going to ask that there is no structure ever put behind this. I don't want to ever hear of somebody acting like they're a guru with this. This is general information that everybody deserves access to. So that's why I'm putting it forward the way I am now. The flow chart or the sheets that go along with it, you'll have access to those sheets, absolutely no problem as well. I'll put that right in the description, how you can get access to that with, of course, free of charge. So the idea here is this just becomes a tool that people get a hold of and use. That's exactly what I want to see it. Healing like this, self-healing like this, it's your birthright. This isn't about this particular modality. This is about your birthright. It's about understanding that modern medicine, it has a place. There is no question about it, and I will never denounce modern medicine. But there's a lot of maintenance that we can do on our own. There's a lot of discovery that we can do on our own along the way, so that we don't have to put all of our faith in some other system about every detail. We can work through emotional things. We can work through patterns. We can work through basic, physical imbalances and things like that. So I'm certainly not going to say that this is a replacement for modern medicine. That's not what I'm going to say. But I'm going to say it is a tremendous complement when considered, as that, right? Now, what I will say about this, and I know for those of you who have been following my channel for a period of time, I did have a near-death experience and a heart attack that left me between the worlds about 2.5 or 3 years ago now, almost. So if you're wondering why on earth, if I know this, how would that happen? I just want to speak to that really quickly right here in the introduction so that we can just put that in the rear view before we get too far into it. That particular heart attack that I had, I knew that was coming from the time I was in my early 20s. I had already seen the visions of it in my early 20s. I knew that I was going to face the corridor between life and death and that I would have some choices to make. And I know that that might sound a little bit crazy, but I had the visions very, very clearly. So why didn't I use this system to try and circumvent that? Well, here's the thing. I really felt like that was something that I knew was coming and I needed to do it. It was all part of my journey. So I thought, well, if that is meant to be, then it's going to be, and I'll just accept it as it comes. Turns out it was meant to be. I did accept it as it comes. And the very first thing I did when I opened my eyes after being between the worlds was consider using lifted energy as my healing protocol. And that's exactly what I did. So I just thought I would talk about that very quickly before we go too far into the video series, because I know that that might be the burning question if you've been following me for a while. Like, dude, why didn't you avoid that? Well, it wasn't really to be avoided. I know that a lot of people will think that's crazy, but it was all part of the journey. And if I had it to do over again, I would make the exact same choice. So that's just how I feel about it. But let me tell you, the very first thing I did when I opened my eyes was consider exactly how this healing was going to work. And this is exactly what I used to heal myself to a point where I have absolutely no physical limitations or repercussion from that near-death experience. So, all right, well, my friends, that's the introduction. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on any one video. Like I said, we're going to move through these things very quickly. Why am I going to move through it quickly? Because I do not want anyone to land in analysis paralysis. And what that is if you get too much information too quickly, you can sit there and feel like you have to decipher and understand everything before you can move forward. This is a work with it system. This isn't a system where you need to learn 1,000 things. You need to learn how to follow the system and just do it. And the rest just happens. So let's just get right in and we'll get to the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care.